Hi again, everyone. Scott Player Popcorn fan here, and in this video, what I want to do is I want to talk about the newest episode of The Last of Us TV show. Not necessarily do a review for it, but I kind of want to explain the Cordyceps fungus infection, because I think it's rather fascinating. What they're doing differently in regards to the game, and explaining it. There will be some spoilers for the newest episode in this video. So if you haven't seen The Last of Us TV show yet, I'd recommend probably not watching this video. But mainly though, I do want to mainly just talk about the Cordyceps fungus infection in the show, because what's interesting about it is that you have this fungus infection, right? And it's you go back to this flashback scene that takes place in 2003 in Indonesia, and the origin of it was from this flower factory, which I thought was rather fascinating, and also how it sort of infects people in a way where, yes, you can get bitten and turned like a zombie in other media, but it's a fungus, so it can grow and mutate. The way they explained it on the show, and how this mutated fungus infection is infecting people, and there's no cure. There's no cure for it, and there's no vaccine, at least not to their knowledge. And I thought that was really fascinating what they were exploring there. I like how this show is sort of expanding a little bit more on the fungus infection and how it's affected other countries too as well, not just America. I think that's rather fascinating. And then back to the present time, in focusing on Ellie and Joel and Tess in the episode, it was kind of interesting because not only is this fungus infection infecting people, but it's also sort of adding to the environments, because fungus, it can grow underground too as well. So what they do in this episode, it's rather fascinating, because say you're stepping on something, or a dead person that was infected, and even though it's dead, the fungus is still growing underground, and it can alert other infected from a very far away distance, kind of like a hive mind, kind of like what they did with the Upside Down on Stranger Things, if you've watched that. But yeah, this fungus infection is sort of the fungus sort of acts like a hive mind, even from infected people from say 1,000 miles away or something like that, and it alerts the other infected, and they all come running, which is something that builds to what happens to Tess at the end of the episode. And the way they play it out, it is similar to the game, but what happened was interesting. They actually showed Tess, dying. They showed her sacrificing herself so that Joel and Ellie can get somewhere safe, and they actually show her dying compared to the game. Whereas in the game, it's actually a group of soldiers that were going after them, and in a way, I think what they did on the show was a lot more impactful, and definitely from the actress. I thought she did an amazing job in the role. It was definitely really well done. I thought what they did on the show was a lot more effective than what was done in the game. It was really good. And also, this Cordyceps fungus infection, because it's mutated, it's always evolving. It's always changing. So there's different levels of infection, which leads to the evolution of the clickers. and eventually also bloaters once we see them in later episodes. So clickers, it's fascinating because clickers, they move around like this and then make a clicking sound, and they're like kind of like bats in a way. So they hear, they have really good hearing, but they can't see. So, and there's an amazing scene in this second episode where Joel and Ellie and Tess are trying to get past these clickers, but it's really hard because they can't make a single sound, because if they do, the clickers plural will kill them or infect them. And it was an amazing sequence, such a great scene. And also just building up to the point to where Tess gets bitten by one of the clickers, sort of foreshadowing what happens at the end of the episode. So and really effective. And man, and also another thing to take note of, this is probably the most faithful to the game that I've ever seen an adaptation do before. It was really faithful, at least until the very end, because the infected were all going after them instead of the soldiers from the game. That was different, and there are a lot of things that they're doing differently, but a lot of visual thematic similarities between the show and the game in this second episode. And it's really cool because the director of the episode, Neil Druckmann, was the creator of the game. He is the creator of the franchise. So it's really cool that they got Neil Druckmann, who directed the video game, directed this episode of the show. And it definitely really shows. It was great. And I make this sound like it was an official review, but mainly I just wanted to talk about the Cordyceps infection and how there's different levels of it evolving, and how, like, say, the runners, they look like regular zombies, and then there's this other stage where it's like before they officially turn into clickers, there's this other stage where they're really fast, and it's like still half human face but also half fungus face. I forget what that one is called exactly, but I remember seeing those particular enemies in the second game too as well. That was part 2, and they could like sneak around and stuff, and I can't remember the name of them, but it's like the stage before the clickers, and then there's the clickers, and then the final stage, as it's known in the first game, are the bloaters. And the bloaters have like this really thick armor, like skin almost, and they can spit out spore bombs, which can also get people infected. And also what they do differently in regards to that, because in the video game, spores are sort of an airborne version of the fungus infection, but they don't really do that in the show. I mean, it's possible they could do that in the future, like save that kind of thing for like a second or third season maybe, but as of now, what they're doing differently in regards to people getting infected, mainly from a bite or from what we saw at the end of the episode when Tess was getting infected from another infected runner. It was kind of a weird, tense scene that almost looked like a kiss scene, but the way she was getting infected that way too. And then also them not doing the spores from the game, and what they do differently there, I thought was rather fascinating, and also I thought worked within the story, and it was all really cool. So yeah, that's really all I wanted to do for this video. Just wanted to explain the Cordyceps fungus infection and talking about this newest episode, and I'm loving this show. I really am. It's amazing, and I can't wait for the rest of the season. So yeah, that should do it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.